and watching them try to use a stapler was shocking. They just there was not a single student who could just pick it up and be like, it was like none of them had ever held one. So some of them come up and they're like, or like they're trying to figure out like where to press it. Like I was just like. Welcome to Unboxing, Play and Profit for the Gaming Curious. I'm Lane Nooney.
And I'm Joost van Breunen.
And we're here digging deep on why games matter in today's economy. On the docket today, Friday, December 12th, it's the end of the semester wrap-up here on Unboxing. Lane and Joost will dish about what worked, what didn't, and whether the kids are all right in our second-to-last episode of the year. Stick around. All that and more with your two very educational co-hosts. But first, we've got some catching up to do. Oh, Joost, how are you?
I'm at the end of my semester. I'm feeling it. How about you?
Yeah, right? I am overwhelmed. I am in emotional overtime.
Emotional overtime. Ooh, say more.
It's well, I mean, it's just like we're in the toboggan ride into the holidays. And I have a big party to plan for, and it's like all systems go, right? This weekend I got my tree. I had Christmas errands this weekend. Had to get a tree. Joost is getting... What's happening? Someone's in his office and someone's
in my office
putting lotion on his hands.
We're recording. Say hi, Lane. No, it's okay. No, you're being extremely helpful.
Hey!
You're on the podcast.
His wife. Amazing. Wow, I don't have anyone giving me a massage while I'm getting...
You don't have like someone on standby? Everybody needs hand lotion.
I know, it's very important.
Especially white men. Good Lord.
It's true. It's very important to keep yourself
not sponsored. Dusty, so. This is not sponsored. This is not some clever...
I'm going to trust you know about washcloths. Like... Janelle's running a tight ship over there,
just like, who needs lotion? Let's go.
It's crazy time. I had to buy a tree, buy a wreath, buy the Cher Christmas album on vinyl. Had to go to the bakery store to buy,
you could just say
bakery.
Bakery store is not a thing.
No. I didn't go to a place that makes baked goods. I went to a place where you buy professional grade items for baking.
So would that be a baking store?
I get, it's called NYC Bakes. So
okay.
So it's like, do you want 200 cookie cutters? Do you want every possible shade of food coloring? Do you want a bakery supply store? Thank you. Our producer is in here clearing me up. I feel crazed. I had to come from the Upper West Side. I had lunch there at 11:30 with a woman in her 80s. I had to eat Thai food in the morning. Like I got stuck at Times Square.
What does she order?
It's been hard just to get here.
What does an 80-year-old woman order from a Thai place? Is that like, are we going spicy, or is it all like...
Oh, absolutely not.
I didn't think so.
Which obviously is why you're taking in Southeast Asian food.
Let me get the neutered pad thai. Okay, that sounds like an eventful few days. Is this just a manifestation of your imminent holiday stress? Are you stressed for the holidays, or is that a...
I would like to... It's just too many... There's too many parties. There's too many functions. I got a place to be every night, and that doesn't... It just takes time away from everything else I need to be doing.
Okay, as a dad of several children, what's the downside?
As a man who gets someone else to lotion his hands.
Listen, I don't do my own lotioning. I don't know what to tell you. I know that sounds like fun. But so, what are the big plans that you would
I
have?
mean, are you expected to bring a cake to the workplace holiday party?
Oh no, oh
Right.
no. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
that's. But it sounds like you're taking this cake business very serious. Like, what, can't you just buy one from like a nice place?
That's an offensive statement. I
That's an.
need you to
That's
I need to
offensive.
I need I need you to reel
All
that
right,
back
so
in.
then just let the record show that all this is self-inflicted.
This a
You
lot
made
of
it this way.
this is the this is also like the run up to my holiday Christmas party where I make like
Mm.
5 or 6 dozen cookies and they're all hand. Are you coming next Friday?
Next Friday, I'm around.
All right.
I
Well,
like.
you should come to my house.
I want to try some of your stress cookies.
Uh, and there's like a ham that gets made.
Ooh,
There's like
anxiety ham. It's going to be great. The only time I know ham during the holidays is because either my mother-in-law or my mother would spend 3 days cooking something and just you wreck the whole kitchen and be pissed at everybody. And like, eat it! I cooked for 3 days. You're like, Jesus, I don't even want any of this anymore. So maybe your ham is the same. I feel just like home.
a ham really shouldn't take 3 days. Like I don't know. Like ham is a pretty set it and forget it food. You put a glaze on it. You put it in the oven. 3 hours later, it's done. You know,
Okay,
there's not really a lot of ham prep.
I
You know,
refuse to take
going
this
to
up with the elder women in my life. That's
going to
not
the
going to
butcher
happen.
is the most time consuming part of dealing with the ham.
Yeah, the shop visits. That sounds like a merry couple of weeks ahead of you.
Yeah. I'm just in the middle of the Christmas factory. So
The
you
production
know,
line.
yeah,
You're like a good little elf. Well done.
yeah.
That's
So
sort of on brand. Good.
balancing this with my expanded job responsibilities has got me a
Mm,
little, in over my head.
stretched a little thin.
So
Well,
yeah.
I'm very
How
impressed by
about
your
you?
ambition here. The holidays, I don't know, they come and go. Like usually, it's yeah, for me, it's like the 5 R's, which is something along the lines of like red wine, running, rest, retrospective, and writing. Sort of.
Oh, the the fifth R writing.
Yeah, whatever.
Is there a what do you do? Is there a tree? Do you got
Oh yeah, this
is there
Saturday
decorating? Has that happened yet in
we do
the household?
the Saturday is been slotted for Christmas tree acquisition,
Oh.
and it's I mean, it's just this unnecessarily inefficient walk for an overpriced dead stick, but the kids love it, and
Wow,
then
way to really suck the joy out of that description.
I mean, it is a marvelous time here in New York, and it's wonderful and magical. Now, it's I say this, of course, because like I deeply enjoy this. There's something about the holidays historically for me that I just never felt like it was always an imposed experience, and now that I'm head of a household, together with my spouse, I could shape it the way I want, and so I'm the one who insists on the tree, and I buy all the decorations, and we do all this thing. I'm asked to stay away from the food, so that it clears up my schedule a little bit. I'm not the
Do you,
chef.
do you have like a theme or decorating style that you
Th-
like? Are there?
this year will be a continuation of last year, which was Frozen, which was very big on the little girls' agenda at the time. And it's like the right theme, It's like blue and silver and white. It's nice. So I bought like a fuck ton of that stuff, and then when I feel really ambitious, I make those centerpieces. I get like the foam and like the branches and a bunch of like
Oh,
tiny little like deer and like candles, and I put those around the house and burn a bunch of candles. That's sort of like, I don't know. As a kid, I remember doing that, where you would make these pieces,
yeah.
and I've given them away, and then people always look at me if something's wrong with me. So, which either tells me that this is not a common custom, or
It's.
that
I
they're
mean, I think
particularly
it's a thing
bad.
you keep to your own home.
Yeah, I
Or
suppose.
at a certain level, I think it's that might be kind of like a Midwestern activity is
Hmm.
making your own. I mean, I know what you're talking about. You get that like green brick and you have
Hmm.
like,
Yep.
either I guess you could use real or fake, right? Like flowers on wires and like
Hmm.
I mean, like making a little scene is involved. I'm accustomed to those being kind of made out of faux or real flowers. And
Yeah.
I'm also like candles, like you're putting a candle on a piece of foam. I don't know. I do
Mhm.
have questions,
No,
but
ask away. But it's sort of like something that I did growing up, but it's not a big. I've never seen it here in the U.S. The easiest
I
one is,
think
of
I
course,
think
to
that's
buy
where
them.
you're living. I think that kind of handicraft gift giving is a little more prominent in other areas of the country.
Yeah, it's a real joy. It's a you don't
Um,
have to eat it, so it's just like whatever. If it looks nice, it's enough. That's all it has to be,
and
and
so
it's a.
you trim the tree in like white and blue lights, or
I just have white lights right now, like whatever the basic ones, because I had the big kids choose decorations a couple times at the CVS, and so you come home with like this. I mean, it's like this terrible tree. Like it's like this rainbow of lights, but it just doesn't go. It just like what is this ugly
yeah.
thing in my house?
Well,
But the kids love it, so we're happy. Like it's all about them.
okay. Buying your ornaments at CVS might be your first
Yeah,
issue,
look,
but
that was my beta stage. I'm much better now. I'm much more like you got to go to like there's this place on Sixth Avenue, this big craft store. I forget the name now, of course, but that's a big one. Whenever I get a chance to go in there, it's like it's all.
Michaels.
I think it's Michael's, but it's this massive. It's in the basement, and I
Like I
have
thought you were gonna like give me a real hot tip about like a
no,
cool
no.
place in New York City. I'm like, oh, you just go to the fucking Michaels in the 20s? Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, I've been there.
it's
Like,
so good. No, but see, like that's like you don't really have that in Brooklyn. There's like a couple of craft stores, but it's like very artsy with like
yeah,
pencils and clay. But this place has like all these little old lady knickknacks. That's what
yes,
you need, like different types
yes,
of sized little deer that you can use. All that stuff. So
okay.
that's one thing I enjoy. Kids love it. You know,
All
we do
right. Well, I want
little
to see a
gifts.
photograph of one of your. I'd like a photograph of one of your centerpieces for next issue's newsletter. I think we need to start dropping subscriber only content in order to get people to subscribe to the button down. That might be the only way it happens.
That's right. We should. Our largest donor will receive one Christmas piece delivered personally.
You receive a highly flammable object that we want you to set on your living room table. All right. We have been talking about the Christmas spirit for like 10 minutes now.
Hmm.
Should we get to the topics of the day? Otherwise,
Yes.
end of the semester. So I taught my last class on Friday. So NYU's schedule is a little funky. Last day of classes is tomorrow. We're recording this on a Wednesday, so it's the Thursday. It's December 11th is the last day of classes. But because I teach on a Friday, my last day was last week, so I get this kind of like bonus week off. And so your last day will be tomorrow. What happens on your last day of class?
I basically do. What is it? How do I call it? Wrap up and goodbyes. So like, hey, any outstanding questions? Well, here's something that's been on my mind. Bye. So those are the three themes of the class, and
You do that for 2.5 hours?
you'd be surprised. Like at the end of the semester, when I feel confident enough, I usually make them take a selfie with me. I find it a little like I'm not always comfortable doing that, but it's like, hey, we had a good time, right? And so that's always a fun, and a lot of them will have something to say. Like I don't know how your students are, but they are very polite. So at least half of them at the end of the last class will come up and say, I just wanted to say this was such a great class, or thank you, professor, and blah blah. And it's like it's incredible. I also have to ignore it until the final grades are in because I can't be
Yeah,
biased.
they're
But
gassing you
but
up.
they're
Yeah.
gassing me up, and so like I'm always a little bit skeptical. It's like, yeah, you say that, but you're trying to get an A. But it is very nice, and I think like they really come together and say like, oh, you know what, I did study games for the first time, and it was fun and worthwhile, and so it's a bit of a drum circle at the end. We have a good time, you know.
Um,
Like
cute.
we recognize that we've been through a
So
transition here too.
what do you like? How do you like? What do you do for the rest of class?
So the obvious topic would always be like because the final paper is due a day after.
Oh, so your final paper is due on Friday.
Mhm. And then I don't do any exams, so it's just me and a stack of
Okay.
papers.
Yeah.
The Then we have traditionally we have by a show of hands a vote whether we want to extend the deadline to Monday.
Oh.
which if you,
Has that ever not passed that resolution?
it's always passed. It's more like I make them ask for it, and it's and I remind them, it's like, yeah, that means that you're going to be working through the weekend, yes. So like this, I'm just trying to like,
That's tomorrow's them's problem, right?
yeah,
Like
no, I know, I know,
you've
I
met
know.
them, right?
But I have to be the adult, so I let them know. It's like, that's good, but that means no weekend for you. And I will also not tolerate any late papers. So that's the trade-off. So we talk about the logistics and the
So you don't
topics.
have like a dedicated lecture or anything like
I
that
do,
that you.
I do.
Oh, okay.
And it's sort of like potluck in the sense that I usually have some outstanding lines or points of conversation that I haven't addressed. When it comes to like current events, that's usually like 20 minutes anyways, and then there
Hmm.
is sort of a retrospective as to like, okay, now that we know this stuff, let's talk a bit about what do you think is going to happen next, right? Where's the industry headed, kind of thing. And that's always a good time to speculate. People want to kind of softball, like I say, test out some of their final paper ideas. So that works out well. What does that look like for you? Like, do you have like a railed experience for them, or like how does
More
your
or
final
less,
go?
yeah. So it's the last of the class's 10 lectures, and the last
Mhm.
day of class. Long term listeners will know, who know the canon, will know that my last day of class is hype day. So I choose whatever my hype day topics are. I think the very first time I did a hype day was like 5 years ago, and it was like cloud. And then it became, that was kind of hard to do actually, but it was um, like NFTs, metaverse. There was that stuff for a while. Eventually, I dropped NFTs and replaced metaverse. So now it's metaverse and the creator economy. So it's sort of talking about kind of embodied virtual reality. It's mostly focused on Roblox, or using the Roblox as a case study to think about how the creator economy operates. And I kind of create my own definition for them
Mhm.
of how to think about the creator economy, according using an analysis of power. Like, instead of defining it as a set of neutral economic transactions, what if we define the creator economy in terms of the kinds of power it enacts, so that we can kind of change the definition. What does it produce? And then I kind of look at how Roblox engages in that. But it's fun. It's a very like, it's pretty low lift. It's a lot of silly videos. Like, I show them news coverage from Second Life. They get to see like the first scene from Star Trek The Next Generation, where they introduce the holodeck, right? None of them have, like four of them have ever seen Star Trek, period, like as a piece of like contemporary content. So it puts a lot of things into perspective for them. They get to watch a lot of silly videos. And yeah, and then what I started doing a couple years ago was I tried to come up with like 6 takeaways from the class, because the class is a downer, right? Like, by the end of the class, it's basically like I say this to them. I'm like, I tricked you, right? Like, that was the point, right? The
Mhm.
point was, you went on NYU course search and you typed in video games, and you found this class and you thought it would be fun, and like, that we'd just be like gaming all the time or whatever. And actually what you learned was a history of capitalism told through the rise of the video game industry. And that leaves us in a pretty unempowered place, right? If you really like the thing that the class demonstrates over and over and over again is that in each technological assemblage, whether it's digital distribution, mobile gaming, live streaming, esports, whatever, the same kind of tendencies play themselves out, right? The
Mhm.
same kind of orientation toward consolidation and exploitation is what is going on under all of these different technological forms, right? And so what I tried to do is give them like 6 takeaways of things that they can kind of say that they like know now about how to interact with the world, so that the class feels like, it's things like, understand the, like, technology does not equal progress. Always think about labor relations, right? Always ask who benefits from any sort of thing, right? Industry, industry market, like, industry projections are just projections, right? Like, it's a lot of, some of it's kind of like guidelines for living a sense of understanding the reality of the economy and not the projection that
Hmm.
marketers want you to internalize. The last one is really also the last takeaway is like you do have the power to diversify your spending and where you choose what kinds of storefronts you choose to purchase from, the effort you put into understanding how money actually gets split. That if you pay a platform
Hmm.
$7.99 for this thing, where is that money actually going? You can figure that out, right? And it's not this like mystical process in which like you they will no longer assume that that money goes to the people making stuff, right? What they now know is that money gets locked into this kind of platform middleman, and that creates like downward pressure on actual creative production, and that they can make choices about other places they can engage in their economic behavior if that's something they want to do something about. And a lot of them, because they love games, actually do give a shit, right? And I've never asked how many of them have downloaded the Epic Game Store, for example, or gone to itch.io, right, or GOG after class, but I definitely think some of them take it away and realize that they do have, even within their constraints, being more, um, they could just be more informed about how this stuff happens.
Hmm.
Anyway, that was a real
That's
speech.
that
Anyway.
was that was a real like it's a real closer. Excellent.
And then
I'm
they all
downloading itch.io
clapped
now. Mhm.
after,
They
and
clapped.
yeah, one of them came up and shook my hand.
Oh, that's fantastic. And look, it's like it's on the one hand, of course, we're in New York, and you see a million people, and it would behoove us, and you would expect people to be cynical. And it's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And like a lot of colleagues, they will refer to their students as kids, and I occasionally do that myself by accident, but after 10, 12, 14 classes together, it's like, like a class has a personality, and you do get attached. You do, like they're going through it, and some of them, like, their personal life a little bit more than others, whatever. But so the handshaking and the closing out is a necessary ritual to kind of like
Yeah.
send them off. Like, okay, good job. Give me something to give an A to. Just put an A on, and like off you go. Well done. On to the
They
next.
will have a test next week. So
Oh,
I
oh, you're
used finals week.
you're a
So the
tester.
final, yeah, I am, because they have a midterm and they have a final, non-cumulative. So that, and unfortunately, that happens on the last day of finals week. It happens next Friday. It's yeah, and it happens at 8 a.m. Like we totally drew the short straw.
Is that legal? Like, isn't that
you
like
know,
who makes it? But like, why not
take
live
it up
7 a.m. then? Like, what
take
is
it up
this?
with the provost. I don't control the schedule, so it is
It's
served unto me. I don't have any autonomy here.
not very
I know.
pro that provost. It's that puns aside, but it just, I mean, that's just like who performs well at that time. I mean, I say this because this morning I got into trouble with my entire family because I was grouchy, and it was around that time, and all I was doing is make coffee and putting on socks, and so somehow, like, imagining like this your final grade, your final test at 8 a.m. That's nuts. I you know I mean, they're also so naive in so many ways, and that the amount of time that they feel that they have for everything. Stern students are a little different in some ways, that they're very ambitious, and they want to make sure that they get the solid A grade all the time, and so they're always asking for feedback and like, how do I do better? And I appreciate that, but I get like a third of my final papers are handed in early because they just have a schedule, which
Yeah.
is always very
Wow.
encouraging.
That would be nice if that was what was happening in my
Would
class.
you would you grade on a going basis, or do you sit down with everything at once?
I typically sit down with everything at once. But if I was getting stuff in advance, I mean, right now I'm playing a little bit of hooky because the test is so far away. So I'm almost sort of pretending like,
Hmm.
I mean, because the test has to happen and then that still gets 48 hours to be graded. So I haven't sat down to like mine through my papers yet. But Yost, I was interested if you could tell me one thing you changed about your class this semester and how it
Hmm.
went, and one thing you are planning to change next time.
That's a really good question. So we talked about this at the beginning, and I introduced, so the thing that I changed was the exit tickets. I introduced those. I really like that suggestion. Um, I copied it one for one from your example. It's a great way to like do attendance. I don't want to sit and wait for some sheet being passed around. I don't have time for that. Also, you get this crumpled, raggedy piece back. It's nuts. And it's actually not waterproof because I can totally put your name on it if even if you're not attending. So that makes
Yeah.
absolutely no sense. Instead, I really got a lot out of the exit tickets in a few different ways. So first of all, it's just like it's kind of like it signals the end of class. So 5 minutes before he says start thinking about whatever question you want to raise or comment you want to submit. Then they do, and then I get their handwritten notes. Some of them are like very organized, these nice little cards that they of course
Oh
purchased.
yeah, I wish.
And
Right.
most of it is just like these scraggly piece of paper, but it has like personality to it, right? Like so like handwriting is such a personal thing. And I sit through, I read everything. I read every, yep. Well, let me tell you about my process. I mean, you can't see it, but what I do is, so I have a stack on one of my shelves over there. So every week I sit here, I organize everything roughly by size and shape, and then I tape everything on a piece of paper, and I make a
Whoa.
stack of those paper, and then I scan them. So I have a digital copy, and then the next thing is, of course, like that's kind of now it get, that's very helpful. Very helpful That's a very helpful note to get at the end of the class. Thank you so much.
With
But
no name, my producer, who is also my TA, says, "Great. So we don't know whose exit ticket this is. Fab,
that's
fab."
it's whatever's left over. But so it gives a bit of personality, and then I have the system, and I kind of, with some degree of curiosity, see how they ask questions. Most of them will use this. I mean, they have the same handwriting, but they use the same kind of note. So then it's you can kind of see how their thinking has progressed. And I like, I mean, I guess the pinnacle of all this is that I can then, during my preparation for next week's class, basically think, let me just flip through the big book of questions from the last couple of classes, see who raised something that's relevant to this week's topic, and then put their whole business on screen. Anonymized, but they will recognize that they were the one asking, why is it that blah 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 blah, so that we can tackle it as a class, but even though they individually raise the question. So I really like that because it gives me a sense of what's on their mind. But I also like to think that it engages them more, right? That they
Yeah.
feel more heard and seen in that sense. So I really,
How
really like
how
that.
many students do you have?
About 60 every semester.
Whoa. Okay. All right. So you have more than I do even. Yeah.
It varies 50 to 60, but
That's nice. I'm never able. I always feel like I'm never able to start as many classes as I want by answering their exit tickets because often we're a little tight on time already. But I'm also able to do it more so in the second half of the semester than I am in the first. So,
right.
but yeah, and you sort of you get a sense of the ones who consistently ask very good questions and um and also you get a sense of the ones where you're like, what?
Hmm.
Like I don't
Hmm.
like how could you ask this question if you had listened to anything I said? Sort of like
Right, which I always immediately take as a failure on my part. Like I
not
wasn't.
always.
No, I know, but that's where I start. That's how I get better. But like but the exit is like it's a channel of feedback that is so much more. So because this is another point of conversation. So last week I wrote a piece on like AI and how whatever that's sort of a standing topic nowadays in academia too. Of course, it's like, oh, but it's like students use, abuse, misuse AI in some capacities. How do you navigate that? And a lot of people were very adamant, say like, well, I hardline it, blah blah blah. I'd say no or whatever. And I feel like having a handwritten note is sort of an antidote to all of this. It builds on this larger things. Like I don't allow laptops in my classroom.
Yep, same.
So for like the duration, they have to sit and listen and talk and participate. And so and then actually there's so much more that comes out of them, and it's like
Yeah.
there's so much happens in their brain as opposed to I get these crappy emails a day later that seem kind of auto generated. So it's a real antidote for all of this impeding tech.
So what are you gonna change for next semester?
That one I haven't really thought so much about. I think that I do want a little bit more involvement, and I'm wrestling with this idea that really the grade is, so it's the exit tickets, it's attendance, it's the midterm and the final. I'm wondering if I can do things a little bit differently there, where I give them one more touch point
And
for the
your midterm and finals are papers, right?
correct.
Yeah.
So it's like, should I do like a quiz with some tech? I've always felt that that was kind of childish, but I realized they're undergraduates, so it's it's a little junior of a move. So that's one. The other one is I want to expand the guest speakers more. That was very popular this semester. So I had the last 3 or 4 I've been pushing more into the C-suite, get fancier, higher up people, and they are basically the walking, talking examples of when we're in the classroom, we talk a lot about how big companies, despite all of their money and all of their wisdom, know nothing, right? That's why the games industry is so interesting. Like they make the dumbest decisions all of the time. And then, which is not to say, let's get one of these CEOs in here, but, let's talk to someone who's at the wheel of a big company and see what they have to say for themselves. And it works really well. And so I like that. And I'm thinking, so now that I have the C-suite people, which of course satisfies the business school students, I also had this very senior producer and game designer this semester, and there's this other contingent of the students that really like that too, like someone who's been spending 20 years making games and branding and all this kind of stuff around
Mm-hmm.
franchises. And so I'm trying to figure out, like, should I do 2 or 3 guest speakers that kind of each come from a different category, like business and creativity and so on, because it's not so much that it's less work, it's actually more work to host someone, but at the same time it's, I think, more fun for the students. And there's a huge number of people that would love to know, like, okay, can I hit you up after this talk for an internship, because I don't know where to go with my degree after class. Once I graduate, where do I start career wise? And so building more, I say, connective tissue is proving very
Yeah.
valuable.
Yeah.
Do you have guest speakers ever?
No,
Why not?
because I'm the authority. No.
Hardly. Hardly.
No, I don't. The class has a very specific theoretical and historical point of view. Like the class is very much an expression, I think, of a kind of argument that I am making for them
Mhm.
over and over and over. And to bring in a rotating cast of people would require me to give up control of that, and just as a pedagogic style, that is not something I'm interested in. So in order to produce, I do work with like our staff in my department to help organize like alumni events. So every other year I'll help run a MCC alumni who worked in the game industry, to bring those folks in and do kind of like a session with our undergrads or something. That tends to be the way that I try to facilitate alumni exposure.
Mhm.
Whereas the intellectual work I'm trying to do in the class is very much tailored to my point of view. And so I have specific benchmarks about what I want them to know.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And so the kind of stuff that contributes to like career development, I try and support that at the level of the department.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It seemed I see the merits of that. Like, this is the conversation we spoke earlier in this semester with Me Too, and so and then I just did the recording with Julian Tegelius, which is all, he just became full professor at Landon, and so in our ecosystem there is more people, and the ecosystem itself is growing. It would make sense to, I mean, what I'm trying to say is, like, those experts from the industry, they were probably best served if we open it up beyond the classroom, which is what I do with some of our guest speakers. I
Yeah.
open it up to like the public, but I see the merits of basically saying, like, you know what, we when they come to talk anyways, they might as well be in front of 300 people instead of just 60, and get a like room somewhere and put some snacks out and have them talk for 2 hours, and then everybody benefits as opposed to just people in the classroom. I like that model very much too. We should talk about that. We
Yeah.
should build something here, because it's, I do have to say, like, I feel like the NYU is getting more and more of a name around gaming. It's
Is
just more
it?
I feel so. I mean,
What are
it's
you basing that on?
on the people I just mentioned, but there's also, by comparison, like Columbia, my alma mater. They have somewhat of a program there, but it's like a fraction the size. And so NYU actually has some critical mass between the Game Center, between MCC, between Stern. tandem, poly. It's all sort of coagulating in some ways. So it feels like eventually we're all just going to end up in the same room together with some regularity. Whereas the state that Colombia still seems to be in is very piecemeal, and occasionally there's some ambitious student who happens to know
Yeah.
someone. The same thing if you go a little further outside of New York, the universities are the same. Like MIT should have a much more pronounced games program or whatever, and it's kind of there, but it has the support of like one or two faculties instead of like four or five.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I think NYU is a little bit more prominent, or has at least the opportunity. Plus, it's an easy sell. Come to New York, do a guest talk at like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah,
you
yeah.
don't have to
Yeah.
sell
They're
anybody on that.
often passing through already,
Mhm, mhm.
makes it very easy. Yeah.
So, what was the best and the worst for you this semester?
I mean, I think it's not best or worst, right? It's like what did I change, and then what will I change? So put I put a fair bit of time into changing my games and labor class. That was one I had talked on here quite a bit about. I had some articles that were really outdated.
Mm,
I had some content in that lecture that was very outdated. I was relying on like a long sketch from the Patriot Act kind of show to
mhm,
fill like 20 minutes in the middle of class about labor in the game industry. And so I really kind of like redid that whole lecture, tried to make the story I tell them about capitalism in that lecture much clearer and easier to follow. And then at the second half of class, I added a new reading that I had not engaged with before. This essay, Game Design for a Fiverr. So we talked about the Fiverr platform, and so this essay is by Scott DeJong and Michael Ian Torno. It's in Media Industries, published 2024. And so I think I wanted something that kind of got us to talk about gig work,
mhm,
that got
mhm,
us to talk a bit about kind of precarious labor, that touched on some of those themes. I think it needs some work to like dial it in, but I think I'll keep it for a while because it also becomes an interesting preview of all the same dynamics we wind up talking about after the midterm.
mhm,
And so, all of the kind of ways that platforms kind of manage and make lots of decisions they kind of claim they're not making inside those spaces, right? That wind up impacting the way that like labor power can operate.
mhm,
Um, so I thought that was pretty successful. The thing that still needs work is definitely my mobile gaming lecture is a shit show. Like I wanted to do it. I had ambitions to revise the labor lecture and the mobile gaming lecture, and really only the labor lecture got the attention it needed.
mhm,
The mobile gaming lecture was because I had been using David Nieberg's piece on the political economy of smartphone gaming for kind of a little. It was already a little bit past how much I could really get out of the lifespan, because it's written basically in the, I think, early 2010s, right? And
mhm,
so
mhm,
it's an essay that's really talking about a phase of the smartphone gaming market that is now very, very long gone, and that these students were children during, right? Like they have no
mhm.
point of reference for what I'm talking about. They for them all of this is history. And
Is that
so
crazy?
yeah, it's wild, right? We get older and they stay the same age.
Oh, dazed and confused. Okay, all right.
And I had also wanted to do more on China in that
Mhm,
lecture, and just it was a shit show. Like
mhm,
I really need to. That is a lecture where I thought maybe I could just take something out and slot
mhm,
something back in, and it's like this lecture needs to be like razed to the ground and rebuilt, because it starts with talking about the Apple versus Epic lawsuit, and I actually think it should not start. I think that should be, I should have class break and I should come back and do that. And
mhm,
instead, I need to start with a kind of globalized history of the smartphone. And then we talk about how smartphone gaming happened. We get through all the critical definitions. We understand. Like, I was very, I did not have a chance to go through that whole lecture before it happened. And I was up there and I was like, oh man, I forgot this slide was here. Like, we're just gonna,
mhm,
we're,
mhm.
we're just, we're just reading these notes. Okay.
Make it work. Yeah.
Make it
Uh,
work. Like
if
sometimes you just kind of catch yourself a little less prepared than you want to be. I mean, it's fine. It's all good content, but I can tell where all the seams are,
of course.
where it feels very spackled together, and so that I think that's been one of the ones that's been surprisingly hard for me to feel like I can keep current effectively,
Hmm.
and like what are the big themes and stuff like that. Whereas interestingly, the digital distribution lecture is kind of weirdly like written in stone. Like I don't need to. It's a history of Steam basically, and it doesn't really need to change. The live streaming lecture is more a history about what came before game live streaming, and then we kind of talk about live streaming in the contemporary, and esports is similar, and those are really
Hmm.
effective. So
Yeah, students like those topics a lot. Mobile is a little bit different. It's probably because I spent way too much time going on and on about my Motorola Razr phone that I miss. So it's like 2G is turned
yeah,
off in the
they're like
US.
grandpa's at it again, you know.
No, but look, when stuff's good, it's good forever. Like that was the best phone, and I'm sticking to it. But it's like they don't offer 2G anymore in the US. They turned it off. Like Canada still has it till the end of next year, and then Germany has it till 2028 or something like that. But so that stuff is like and that was such a frontier, whatever. Anyways, so I go on with that way too
Oh
long.
god, that was a great phone. I remember like texting and driving with that phone where you're clicking every button like 3 times to
Oh
get one
yes,
letter,
yes.
you know, like. But
But it was so
you had it
sleek.
memorized, like
Mhm.
you knew. Yeah,
Or you would
yeah,
just text one letter like to confirm things, which
yeah.
most of my
K.
buddies still do. Yeah, K or Y. It's like simple, but it's you know, in many ways it's like and I set that up, and then I talk about the Nokia N-Gage, and I
Mm.
talk trash about that thing for about 10 minutes. It's fun, uh, because that was such a you know abomination in so many ways. Like the side talking. Are you kidding? You remember this?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
to actually use it as a phone, you have to talk into the narrow side like an idiot. It's
What
anyway,
was
so
it? Who made it? Was it Motorola?
Nokia.
Nokia, the Nokia Engage. I'm just looking them up.
And so
Um,
anyway, so like so my lecture talks a lot about like this mess of all these different formats, and then all of a sudden, here comes the iPhone, and here's how the revolution. But it's not the device; it's the ecosystem, and you just
yeah,
launch
yeah,
to that
yeah.
thing. And then labor is part of it to some degree, in that they basically co-opted all of their this cottage industry of developers, and how they now become app store makers. And in the beginning, the promise is you can also be rich, which of
Yes.
course,
Yeah.
coinciding with the financial crisis of 2008, is like everybody was at their kitchen table
Yep.
making apps. And at first that worked, it totally worked. And now not so much. And here's why. That's the lecture, right? So it's,
Oh my god. I hadn't. I don't think I was aware of the Engage. Whoa.
yeah, well,
Wow.
you should get one.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, it's really fun. But but it's such a good jumping off point, because you immediately recognize it as like stupid. Like
Yeah.
they look at this like, what is this? You might as well show them a horse, like a horse's carriage. Like, what is this? You know, like not a car, like
Oh
a horse.
man, that reminds me. Speaking of old technologies, the on the last day of class, they hand in their papers as like physically. They have to submit it both digitally and physically, and
Really?
because they always I want to read it physically. I don't want to read it on a screen. I want to be able to sit on my sofa and like read their paper. I don't want to be sitting at like in like desk posture to do all of that. So
Good for
it's
you.
part of my like chronic pain stuff. Is like by and large, I do almost all of my reading whenever possible in physical form, not in digital, because I find it to be a more adaptive way
Hmm.
to read. Reduces eye strain, things like
Makes
that.
sense. No, makes sense.
And so because they always forget they often forget to staple, or they like can't find a stapler or whatever, and staplers are not things they own anymore, so they just show up with like several sheets of paper. And so I bring a stapler, and watching them try to use a stapler was shocking. um they just like there was not a single student who could just pick it up and be like, like it was like none of them had ever held one. So some of them come up and they're like, you know, or like they're trying to figure out like where
That
to
is
press it. Like I
hilarious.
was like I was just like as a person who studies like the history of technology through things like habit and embodied practice and like the way we hold things or the
Mm,
familiarity of using a certain kind of tool over and over and over again, watching them touch a stapler
mhm,
was
mhm.
like crack to me. I was just like, what's going on right now? It was mesmerizing. Like I couldn't take my eyes off of it.
That is fantastic.
Um,
I had
yeah,
never considered
just
that.
like
Do
they
you
were
have to
scared
like?
of
Do you have
it.
to fix it for them, like and like reload it, or like?
They were so slow. It was wild.
That's so amazing.
And I was
Yes.
like, "Oh, you guys have maybe not like obviously they were in high school the entirety of the pandemic, right? So they never dealt with a physical like they didn't print a paper, right? And so and increasingly because schools are dump kids out to Chromebooks or,
Mhm,
tablets and stuff like that, they just don't have this kind of familiarity of I print a thing out to read
mhm.
it and then I have to make sure it's yeah, it looked like I was asking them to use a printing press. Like I was
Just putting all the letters in like a little board and like,
yeah,
get the
exactly.
roller, Timmy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's funny.
And I
That's
think
really funny.
even when they use staplers like at the library, I think they're automated. So you just put the paper in and it staples it for you. Like the manual exerting your own calories to
The
staple a
the analog
paper
stapler.
was really asking a lot.
That's fantastic. Well, you have a very fancy one too. I'll give you that. But it's a yeah. I mean, in the same bewilderment, I've watched a coworker use like one of those hole puncher things, a
Yeah.
perforator.
Yeah.
You're just like, are you okay? Like, are you safe? Like, what's happening? Like, you've seen this before? But it's in my classroom context, like my closest thing is like getting the handwritten notes. It's like because all I see is printed text up until this semester, and you're like,
Yeah.
wow, like some of you, I don't know how you communicate on paper, but clearly not often because
Yeah.
it's like a challenge to read it. And I'm a big like handwriting thing, but it's
Yeah.
in the same way that you don't like to grade papers off of screens. Like I do everything handwritten,
Mm,
most of it, like it's just my way, but but not for everyone apparently. And so like handwriting, you can tell when it's practiced or not, and you just
yes.
say, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah.
It's but staplers, that's a good one. I'm going to get a stapler too. I'm going to make a printed out next semester. We're going to have competing footage. You can come
Yeah,
sit in
it
my
creates
class.
it creates an absolute you're absolutely asking the world for the paper to get printed, you know? Um it's like a real it's like I'm old. I need you remember when you had professors who like wanted like they wanted you to um they like give me 3 photocopies of it in an envelope and that's what you feel like you sound like when you're like can you
Oh,
just
that's
give
completely what you
me
sound like when they used to do like back in the day, like yeah, your professors or whatever, when they did their PhD on a typewriter.
yes yeah
You're just
yeah
like, yo, it's like half of the job is just getting it on paper without
yeah remember
mistakes.
whiteout like
Oh,
you know
good lord. I
anyway before this turns into the old as fuck
I,
show
no, I want to add one
should
more. Do you remember microfiche?
yes I mean I'm a historian of course I fuck
Do,
with microfiche still
do you have that in your classroom? Like the setup, like that giant thing with the
no
lens and the like
no
Stern has
they're very they have them in a classroom.
Stern has them every classroom.
Stern has microfiche in every classroom.
Like the setup, like the no,
You
maybe
were
we're used.
talking about an overhead projector, Yost.
Yes, that's but that's in Dutch. That's what they refer to it. Microfiche is not the archive.
Yeah, microfiche is the roll of like almost looks like film tape that you put it into a thing under glass and it
Right.
blows it up for you. No, you're talking about an over like a transparency.
Yes. Like what do you call that?
Yeah.
That
It's an overhead projector.
that's it. That sounds so
Yeah,
much less
because it's
cool.
over because the light shines down from a the light
Do you
shines
use
up.
that?
No,
Why not?
no. I somehow I think I used those very early in my academic. I don't use them because I have a chalkboard, right? And then,
You
or I have a
used
dry erase board.
chalk? Wow.
I've used chalk. I've used dry erase board, and I don't have to use. Very early in the early 2000s, there were some cases before it became normal to project something from a computer
Mm-mm.
onto a wall, onto a screen. When I had to teach composition, I had some things I printed out on transparencies because like I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to demonstrate something about writing. But I fortunately there the flip, I mean it's probably very interesting to go look at this, but the flip to where every classroom had a projector and a screen,
Mm-hmm.
like that you could connect a computer to. I kind of got to be there at the beginning of that,
Mm-hmm.
and so I never really had to like fuck with an overhead much.
Yeah, that's how we presented papers back in the day.
Ugh.
And if you have to go to a special printing place, and it cost like this much per print or whatever. It was super fun. I Are you gonna whip out your
I do.
transparencies now?
I was gonna see. I do have some in here, but I was like, where are they? You know?
We're getting a real time.
Yeah.
Let's venture
I'm
back in
going
time.
looking. Keep everyone occupied, Yost.
Well, so
Well, I
they the overhead projector stuff for me is fascinating because that's how like it would always feel so official, like handing in like a report that we would write as students and then go present it, and then getting that all like getting all your ducks in a row. You would show that like it's so formal, but it looks like it has like a tactical vibe to it. Like you make these graphs and they would move around sort of, and then you go, oh, then now I got to take a picture of it. Context is everything. That's that's just handwritten.
so
There's
yeah.
not
So
even any images.
oh, there's drawings. Would you like to see? So
What's your
these
high
actually
definition?
these were not created by me. I did not make these.
Who did?
Um, I did not. I did. So Anna Anthropy made these at a conference that I organized in 2013,
Oh,
and
is that an
and
original?
and so she's a famous trans game designer, and we invited her to give a talk. And
Hmm.
so she like at the like literally she was like day of like I need an overhead projector, right? Or like day before. So we ran around, got these overheads, gave her some markers, and she I don't know, she just like went she just like wrote scraps of things, drew. I think this is a stinky poop,
Oh,
you know?
good. Oh,
And
this
then
great.
I took them and I was like, these are historic. And so I have held onto them for like 12 years. They've just lived in a folder in my office. I was like, one day these will like go to an archive or something. And some
You can fence
confused
them.
historian will try and make sense out of like what
Sell them to
happened
Phil. Yeah, sell them for
in
Phil.
this
$5
talk,
a pop.
right? Yeah. Like I don't know what order they were originally presented in, but I mean this is archival gold, so they're marked Anna Anthropy slides.
That's like you're so
Yeah.
cute when you like light up over this dorky stuff. It's so good. It's like
My
so
girlfriend thinks the same thing. So
it's adorable. It's a you can't use any of that stuff anymore. The students will stare you right
yeah,
out of the room.
yeah.
You got to be high tech. So I try to do videos, but I'm not always successful with the audio.
Oh, our producer just found out I have a girlfriend. Yeah. Yep.
At the same time as
All
everyone
right.
else.
We need an end of the semester drink, but
Uh,
Yost, I think we've covered a lot of class. What do you think? Should we go to Pwns and Owns, or is
Let's
there anything
let's
left to say?
let's go to Pwns and Owns.
I
We
got a
covered
pwn,
it.
but
Okay,
do you have an own?
I'll figure out a note.
You're gonna figure out a known. My pwn is definitely. I mean, this is pretty low hanging fruit,
Hmm.
but I think the um, inaugural FIFA Peace Prize is my pwn of the year, maybe. So you surely saw this as a man of Europe. I have to assume
I saw
who
this.
likes the footsie ball.
I
I have to I have to
it's.
assume
I
you
mean,
saw this.
Mr. Infantini, please. who will
Who,
relieve
and
us.
he is who? He's what, the chairman of
He's
FIFA or
like the
the
big boss of
commissioner?
FIFA.
Okay,
And
so
he
this
was the guy
guy,
who stepped in after it was basically determined that FIFA is wildly corrupt. And he was
yeah,
the anti corruption new head.
yes,
And he came up with a faux peace prize.
yeah, they gave Donald Trump a big pacifier in the shape of an award called the FIFA Peace Prize. I haven't actually. There is this CNN article. What is it, and why did Donald Trump, for exceptional and extraordinary actions for peace, and by doing so have united people across the world?
Hmm.
Okie dokie. So the guy who sent a bunch of guys to a concentration camp in El Salvador, he just won the FIFA Peace Prize. Cool. Maybe in keeping with the general vibe of FIFA, but I do want to talk. Have you looked closely at the trophy itself?
It's like these hands trying to grab the earth or
It's
something.
like it's like a fucking Elden Ring cursed object that you would find. Yeah, it's like all of these. Actually, it feels like there is a close reading about this object because it
Hmm.
is a bunch of disembodied hands, right? Like with no, just hands just like chopped off at the wrist, not really holding a ball that is
Hmm.
earth, right? And so their fingertips are like grazing it, but it looks like the hands of the dead balancing the globe, right? This is a super villain object. Like there is a dark crystal inside
Hmm.
of this that
Hmm.
could open a portal to another world, right? Like this is, I mean, it's comic and grotesque, you know. But this trophy is terrifying. Like,
It's fantastic. I love it. I love it.
yeah,
I
the award is a pwn, the trophy is a pwn, right? It looks like a video game cursed object.
inspired by Elden Ring.
Yeah. Yeah, this like there like yeah, there's like you would meet some character in Elden Ring that's like, I need all my hands back, like that's the that's the kind of cursed quest that this object would send you on, you know?
Like like there's like a world eater or whatever. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah, 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 yeah.
some
Exactly.
name.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's gonna go well. I wonder who's gonna be the next recipient. That I really like. Where do you go from
Oh,
here?
there's a FIFA Peace Prize year 2 that and this
I
isn't just a
mean,
one-off.
I'm dying to know who's gonna be next year.
All right.
So
What's
that's
yeah.
okay. So let's do an own. So I'll keep it in theme with the rest of the semester, but this is based on the conversations I've had. Like there seems to be a real sort of not so much renaissance, but like a lot of my students were really vocal about and enamored by like indie games like Dispatch and Silk Song. And I don't mean indie as in like two people eating ramen. I mean like medium-sized studios that take creative risks. And it seemed like so I feel that that's very encouraging. So to see non-giant companies, corporations having to walk back like Microsoft walked back a lot of its Call of Duty, saying like, maybe we should take a little bit more time after the last one, Call of Duty 7 disappointed. So increasingly you see these like 14-hour, 20-hour experiences for $20, $40 do really well. I think that that's a real like glimmer of hope in like this otherwise sort of trite industry moment. At the same time, the fact that my students are picking up it, like they're actively, so a lot of papers were about here's why that's cool or here's what should
Yeah.
happen next. I thought that's it's such an encouraging moment because while everybody's looking at the big companies and what are they going to do next, it's like it's actually going to come from the middle or the bottom of the ecosystem. That's where the so that's still alive. It's still blooming and blossoming. The audience there, the understanding is there. So I thought that was incredibly encouraging to hear throughout the semester. And so perhaps that leads me to the inevitable culmination of like the Game Awards coming up this week. But it's you know, this is an industry that I feel like we could criticize and talk a bunch of trash about it, and there's a lot of bad decisions at the same time. It's this beating heart culturally, creatively, and commercially, but it's been a lot of fun. It's been a very encouraging semester for me in that sense. So it's shout out to all the indies.
Yeah. Similarly, those are probably the most widely popular kinds of games in my classes too.
Mhm.
We gotta get out of here. We are running up the clock. Speaking of the Game Awards, we'll be dishing into it next week in our last episode for the year. And with that,
Boo,
join
boo,
us then.
boo,
Good
boo,
night
boo.
and good game.